I'm at the Harlem home of Jason Charles, who is the president of the New York Preppers, which I didn't even know there was a prepper organization in an urban setting such as this. So we'll get into that in a second. But Jason, the reason I wanted to talk to you is because we've been watching, of course, what's going on in Venezuela, where they had a catastrophic outage of electricity, widespread, for a protracted period of time. And I got to thinking, what would we do in the United States if something like this happened? We see rioting in the streets, we see looting. Some of that is politically motivated, of course, but are we prepared, are people prepared for such a catastrophe here in the United States, in your opinion?
People are not prepared. They like to say they are, but I don't think so. I don't think that, I don't think most of us are truly prepared. Even mentally. I mean, let's just say everybody has all their supplies. I don't think people are mentally prepared for what follows for a prolonged blackout. Now, we've actually never experienced anything like that. Not with Venezuela. So we experienced short ones, 77, 2003. But we've never experienced anything like that. I think for the most part, most Americans are not prepared for a blackout, such as Venezuela.
What are the basic things that we should have in our homes, whether it's because of a blackout, because of a snowstorm when we're stranded, that we just don't think about doing?
Well, I think everyone should have extra food on deck. So whatever your favorite food is, just get extra of that. Make sure it's canned goods because they go a long way. Don't buy, bread and milk and things that are going to go bad once the power goes out. Now, bread's just going to go bad because, it's time sensitive. But milk, if it's in the fridge, it's going to go bad pretty quick. Canned goods, camp food. If you're a camper, an outdoors person, you can get extra pouches, if you will, of that, and then just have some extra water in bottles on hand.
So that would help us in a short outage. 36 hours, I think, was the last one we suffered here on the East Coast. But in a long outage, such as Venezuela, I mean, how are we going to have enough provisions to get through, say, a week?
Well, that would be the idea. The idea would be for you to at least have anywhere between a week's or 2 weeks worth of food and water on hand. Realistically, Americans don't do that. We just don't. There's a small group of preppers in the United States, and we do that, but Americans as a whole, they don't. So we could tell, we can get the message out about being prepared, but it's essentially up to that person if they really want to take this seriously. Now, would Venezuela happen here? Who knows? I mean, just a blackout alone for that long, you never know. So why take the chance? Just have some extra food and water. And I would always recommend anywhere between a week or two if you worry. If you're really worried, you go a month and beyond.
So it occurs to me that if we had a blackout, probably the cash machines aren't working, so it's probably a good idea to have a little cash on hand too.
You definitely want cash on hand. You definitely want something that's tradable, whether that's cash, whether you're going to trade eggs if you live in the farmland area, or ammo, or cigarettes, or liquor. It's definitely good to have cash on hand for the short term, but if it's going to be a long term, you're going to need something else to trade.
It's interesting, and I alluded to this in the beginning of the interview. When I think of preppers, I think of somebody out in a rural area. They're growing stuff in their backyard. They're canning. They're doing stuff like that. You're here in a relatively small apartment in Harlem. I never even knew before I researched this and contacted you that there were preppers in an urban setting. Is it more difficult to get prepared in an urban setting such as New York?
Yeah, it's always more difficult to be prepared in a city like New York because, first and foremost, you don't have the space. We just don't have the space to pack away the things we want. Now, in this apartment, we have a whole closet dedicated to just that. But not a lot of people can afford a whole closet to emergency emergency preps. Sorry. So it all it is just challenging in itself, right? You live in a rural area. Hell, you live in the suburbs. You have a house. You have a basement. You have an attic. You have places that you can store these things. We don't have that luxury here. Here, we have to go out and get storage units, and then put our preps in there. But then that becomes a problem because now you got to get to the storage unit. You know, so you throw safety out the window if you have to leave your home or your building to go out in the streets to get those extra supplies.
And it is an issue of safety potentially if you're walking around at a time when people are desperate. They may do things they otherwise would not do, as we are seeing right now in Venezuela.
Well, right. I mean, you figure in Venezuela, if the cops are gone because they're protecting their family, the firemen are gone because they're protecting their family, there's no one up to stop them, right? So essentially, if people are desperate, hell, it doesn't even matter if the cops on the street. If they're that desperate, they're that hungry, and they're thirsty, they're going to do what they think is right to feed their family, and I guess essentially their family, not their friends. Pretty sure you lose your friends in a situation like that.
Well, I hope this little interview convinces one or two people to maybe prepare. You never know. If we talk about it enough, maybe people will start to listen.
You would hope so. You would really hope so, but it doesn't work that way, not here.
Well, I'll put a link to your organization in the comment section below, in the description section below. And I want to thank you once again, Jason, for doing this interview. And folks, please subscribe and hit that little alarm button if you want to get notified of future postings by me. And until then, peace out.